I feel so privileged that I get to help raise the next men that are coming up.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I have a new guest with me today. Her name is Abby Joy, and this is going to be a joyful conversation. Actually, I'll tell her to tell you about her name when we get started talking to her, because it's a really fun story, and she's Double Joy. We're just going to call her Double Joy this week, but she really is joyful, and it is always fun to have people like her on the podcast because, you know, we want to bring joy into your home and into your homeschooling, and she is going to help us do that this week. But before we get into our conversation, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, BJU Press Homeschool. You guys have heard me say it, and it is true. If you're looking for a great homeschool curriculum for any subject, any grade, any age, whatever it is, even different learning styles, whatever you need for your family, check them out at bjupresshomeschool.com, and I'm certain they have something for you. Maybe not for every single subject. You might not need them for every subject, but even if you just have one or two subjects, check them out at bjupresshomeschool.com. And if you're not sure what you need, you can always call and talk to one of their consultants, and they will help walk you through it. They will teach your kids from a strong, solid biblical worldview. We know it. We've used them and we love them. Check them out, bjupresshomeschool.com. Well, Abby Joy, welcome to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. It is so much fun to have you with me today. One of my favorite things is to have a new guest on and get to sit and chat with them beforehand and just get to know them and their family and their lifestyle and what they're doing. And so I always feel like I have all these new friends who live in different parts of the country. And you're in Minnesota, where it's stinking freezing cold. And I've told you guys on the podcast, I cannot, the cold thing, Oklahoma is like the max of what I can handle when it comes to cold. But I don't think I could do Minnesota. I don't know.
I love the cold. I wouldn't want to go any further south, actually. I have lived all over the country, and this is great for me. I live in southern Minnesota, so it's not like International Falls, but I like the cold and the snow.
Well, that's good because you live in it. So
yes.
I think God makes us all different to be able to adapt to and enjoy the place where he puts us. Because I've said so many times, there's no better place to be than in the center of God's will. And if God's will for you is to be in Minnesota where it's cold, then that's the best place for you and your family to be. And I hear it's beautiful. I've not been to Minnesota yet, but one of these days.
Oh, well, I can invite you. You can come anytime and maybe even speak at one of our retreats at some point too. That would be really fun if you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. And I will come and sit in your chair. Before we were arranging, you've got this really cool looking chair that looks very comfortable in your living room. And I said, I just want to go just snuggle up in that chair there. So maybe we'll get to do that. Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know you and you're new to them as you are to me, introduce yourself to us and tell us all about Abby Joy.
Sure. So yes, my name is Abby Joy. My parents named me Abigail, which means a father's source of joy. And then my middle name is Joy. And so I am their double joy. So we were talking about that ahead of time because you have a daughter whose middle name is Joy. And that's really fun. I always want to live up to that name. I was really scared to really share it and take it on too much. But I really want to be an encourager and I want to bring joy. And I've been really encouraged as people around us share about how joyful our family is and seems to be. And so I've really tried to embrace that and share that a little bit more too. And that's what I really want to do on my YouTube channels is encourage families and show them how much joy there is and can be in family unity and doing family things together, family subjects, games, all kinds of things. I really like to focus on those things. But yes, so I am a Christian. I am a third or fourth generation Christian, actually just very blessed by that generational passing down. I was a pastor's daughter, and now I'm a pastor's wife as well. My husband is amazing. He's super supportive. He's a wonderful father, and it has just been great to partner with him in ministry. And God has made it extremely clear that we are supposed to be in Minnesota, specifically where we are over and over again. He reaffirms that for us. So that has been really great. I have 4 boys, ages 6, 8, 8. They're identical twins, and a 10-year-old. And yes, boy mom, also love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. They are just so much fun. And so that's where we are. And we homeschool and we are in the thick of it, learning and enjoying life and trying to share God with others.
I love that. Have you always homeschooled?
I have from the beginning. Yep.
Okay. So twins, let's park there for just a minute
Sure.
because you have identical twin boys, which is so fun. My daughter and I were just talking about this the other day. And I said, if I ever had twins, I would want them to be identical because it just seems so much more fun that way. You know, it's 2 for the price of 1, buy 1, get 1 free.
Oh, it's not though. It's not.
Is it not? It's not buy 1, get 1 free?
Oh, they are so expensive. Did you know that actually your ultrasounds, when you go in to get tested, they charge you double for your ultrasound?
Really?
Even the first one where they discover that you have twins, you get charged
so
double.
Funny.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
I did not know that.
Expensive having twins sometimes, and all at one time. The diapers, I mean, they don't share diapers, so there's a lot of expenses.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't mean the price of raising them. I mean the price of just getting them, except for the ultrasound, you know, because I mean, like delivery, you only have to go through it one time and you get 2 babies out of it instead of just 1 baby.
Yeah.
No, okay, you've had singles and you've had doubles. We're like going way off track here. Were deliveries the same or totally different with twins than with singles?
So I was like incredibly blessed. Well, first of all, I actually had to drive 3 hours every 2 weeks to get to the cities to do appointments because I had monodi twins, which means that they shared the same placenta. They had separate sex, but shared the same placenta.
Okay.
Sorry if that's like TMI. But they needed to be monitored closely. It was technically high risk at that point, although I was very blessed and my boys were very healthy. I did need to deliver there also because in our small town, they don't deliver those. And I was blessed to be able to deliver both naturally. Now, you still have to have an epidural in case you need to go in for a C-section. I delivered 1 breech, which if I hadn't had the correct doctor, that we prayed that I would have a doctor that would deliver a twin breech. And she came on shift like as I was going into the OR delivery room.
Wow.
It was really incredible, but I easily could have delivered 1 natural and then had a C-section.
Oof.
And I
that
couldn't even
terrible.
imagine that. Yeah. And so, no, I love having my twins, but the pregnancy was hard. All of my pregnancies were hard, but the pregnancy was hard. The delivery was scary. And then the year afterwards was really, I call it like my worst year. It was just challenging. It was hard on my marriage. If you know twin moms, that first year specifically, I think the divorce rate for parents with twins is actually like skyrocketed higher than everything else. It is so incredibly hard.
Wow.
And there's no sleep. You have a lot of anger with your spouse on like, is everybody pulling their weight, and communication, and there's a lot that can go into that. And like any pregnancy, all pregnancies can be different and handle things differently. A lot of the Facebook groups I was part of for twin moms, they were really toxic. They were really dangerous because people are just struggling and they don't have sleep. And so often I hear people say, oh, I always wanted to have twins. And I think you wanted to be a twin. I don't think you wanted to have twins. Now, though, they're best friends. And all my boys are within 4 years of each other. And they get along really well. And I think a lot of that is because we keep them home, too. They are best friends. They aren't split up in school. We do a lot of family subjects together. They get along so well. And so now I absolutely love it. But it was really hard.
Oh, I love your honesty and transparency there, because I think so many times, especially with you as a pastor's wife, we feel like we have to just have it all together, or at least show people that we have it all together. And it's hard for people to, sometimes say like, you know what, it was the worst year of my life. It was awful. It was really, really hard. And that doesn't mean you didn't love your kids.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It just means it was really difficult.
Well, so 2 things with that. One, the funny part, I would often end up at church on Sunday morning, and there's like this big mirror as soon as you walk into church. And I'd like set down the twins in like their little car seats or whatever, and I'd stand up and I'd realize this is the first time I'm looking in the mirror today. And I'm already at church. Like, oh my goodness. Okay. Because you're just everything has to be so thought about your kids and getting where you need to go that I just wouldn't even think to look in the mirror in the morning.
And you had a 2-year-old at the time too.
I did. Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm thankful that they were second-born and not first-born, because my 2-year-old was even able to be very helpful in those times. And so that was really nice.
We want to thank all our sponsors for making this show possible. BJU Press Homeschool, CTC Math, and Apologia. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Visit the show notes for links to these great companies and thank them for supporting the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. We are back with Abby. So before the break, we were talking about you having twins. And I just want to park here for a minute because I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast that I can remember. Having twins, I imagine that even though they're identical, they shared a placenta, they're probably very different in their personalities and in the ways that they learn, perhaps. And you've got 4 boys. So you said you have 10 2 8-year-olds and a 6-year-old?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So they're all pretty close in age. So even aside from just being twins, you've got 2 others that kind of sandwich the twins. What does that look like for you in homeschooling? And because I imagine with them being the same age, do you find it difficult to not compare them in certain ways? And like, just what does that look like with having twins and homeschooling them at the same time?
Yeah. So I think we've really tried to combat that comparison. Even from a very young age, when they're really little, you see their personalities shine through. And so I think one of the ways that I identify my twins separately is even like I can see those little personality differences, even in the way that they walk or the way that they talk. Like there's just little things that as a mom I can pick up on. And we've embraced and love those differences about them. And so I think some of that comes very naturally as a mom, just knowing they are different and like expecting that. Also being a student of your children, right? Constantly learning better how they learn and how to serve them. And so, they are different. And I've really had to be on guard with some of those things. I remember early on when we started, like, okay, we should probably do some like curriculum or some learning things specifically for them. I had one child who was like, ready to go. Like, yeah, mom, give me all the workbook pages. I want to do it. And the other one who was like, no, you cannot make me do school. And I really had to embrace and be okay with like, okay, he's not there yet. He doesn't want to. He's not interested. He needs more play still. And the other child who wanted to, just like kind of going with it with him. And now as an encouragement, what happened was a year later, though a child that didn't want to learn suddenly sped up. He was really interested. He picked it up really quick and they almost flipped. And we have had this happen with them so many times and just have been able to see it so we can anticipate like, it's okay. Like they are different. They will catch up in their own time. We just work with them where they are. There are a lot of things that we are able to do with them together. And so like that makes things really nice. But when they are at like different reading levels, we just find creative ways to, okay, now it's your turn to go take a break. And I'm going to work with this child who's struggling to pronounce their L's. And I'm going to work with him in this. But nobody else necessarily knows that I'm working with that child specifically on this. Like this is just yours and mom's time to kind of work on what you need to be working on. And then we kind of hash out some of those things as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's fun to see kids' different strengths and weaknesses. We have some friends who, they have 2 little boys and they're 15 months apart. And it's fun to even watch their different, because they're so close. They're not twins, but they're very close in age. And one of them is very academic and the other one is very athletic. And so sometimes, because they're kind of in the same level-ish, kind of doing the same stuff with homeschooling, but, it would be easy for the one who's more academic to be like, well, I'm way smarter than you because I can read at a higher level and da-da-da. And, but then the other one, he's just way more athletic and he has other strengths and abilities. And so it's fun to be able to see and to be able to foster in our kids how God created them and those different strengths. And even their weaknesses.
Pointing it out and being verbal about those things, I think just really encourages them from that young age.
Yeah, for sure. So boys are a whole different story as well. I mean, we've talked about boys lots on this podcast. We had Dorinda Wilson on not too long ago, and she has her new book, Raising Boys, on raising boys. And I'm just like, boys just have cooties and they smell funny and they make funny noises. And I just don't understand the world of boys. But I love boy moms like yourself who are like, boys are awesome. They are so much fun. And, they're so active and being able to teach them as they are active and as they are going through life.
I feel so privileged that I get to help raise the next men that are coming up, right? And it's such a needed field. And I think part of my history of like looking for a godly man, right? And now I get to like help raise those is such an honor. And I told my husband early on when we were pregnant with our first one, like, I'm pretty sure God wants us to raise boys. Like, put aside any hopes for a girl. Like, God made us to raise boys. And I just felt that really strongly from early on. So then as they continued to be boys, I was just like, yes, God, okay, we can do this. And it's been such a blessing and a privilege. And I love getting to be part of that.
I appreciate that so much as a girl mom, that you are a boy mom who is intentional about raising strong, godly men.
Absolutely.
I wish that society saw it that way, because boys, even in the homeschool world, you know, we have seen boys are, not all boys, but there are a lot of boys who are just not what God created them to be. You know, they have really succumbed to the pressures of society. And that's really scary. And for the mama of two girls, you know, my husband and I, we've been praying since before they were born. When we found out they were girls, you know, God, just be raising up godly men for them. And it's a hard place to be.
How much your prayers matter. My husband grew up with a very different theological background, different upbringing, and he will say that in his testimony that he didn't become a Christian really until later in high school. And that was because a girl from a different church continued to invite him to youth group over and over and over again. And until he finally felt like, man, she's really nice. I don't want to like be offensive that I don't want to go. Like, I'll just go once. And when he went, he saw the authenticity that they had when they sang worship songs, they really believed that God was real. And when they prayed as if somebody was listening. And that is where he really became a Christian. Now, up till this point, and even after this point, he was given a lot of opportunities to make a lot of different decisions in his life. And his family would have supported him in whatever he wanted to do or become or anything. And there is no reason that my husband should be a Christian or a pastor or anything, other than my parents prayed for him before I was born, you know, and I remember it being weird that my parents are praying for my future husband wherever he is, and protect him and help him to make the right choices. And like, I thought it was so weird. And now I'm just like, wow, I wish we could like match up dates, and I wish we could like go back and figure out what was going on, because I'm just so certain that those prayers mattered.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Well, we're out of time, but we are going to come back on Wednesday. And I actually want to talk for just a few minutes on Wednesday about what it's like to be a pastor's wife who homeschools. Sure. Because I think that's an important role that you have, not just in the church, but in the homeschool world at large. So let's talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about lots of other fun things, community, developing unified families. I don't know. We've got lots of fun stuff to talk about. So we will come back on Wednesday to talk about those things. But before we do that, can you tell our listeners where they can find you? I know you've got lots of fun stuff going on YouTube, and you talked a little bit earlier. You mentioned a retreat that you have or that you had. Yeah. So talk about those really quickly.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me primarily on Family Style Learning on YouTube. There I share all the resources and tips and encouragement for being a unified family of curriculums that you can use and so forth. I have a second channel called Bear Hill Adventures, where I just share resources for teaching your kids about the world. It's kind of a side passion of mine. I do have a website. It's familystyleLearning.com. You can find information about a retreat that, well, as the information comes out, that I am planning on hosting in the fall. We just had one in March, and it was amazing for community. And then I'm also on Made to Homeschool, where I hang out in the community circles there, and once a month host a live meetup where you can chat and we can interact and have deeper conversations as well. So I am in like all the spaces, and Instagram too.
Awesome. Okay. We'll put all those links in the show notes. And we are so grateful for having you this week. It's been fun chatting with you so far. And we'll be back on Wednesday to continue our conversation. You guys stay tuned to the very end to hear what's coming up on Wednesday. And if you've not yet watched the movie Schoolhouse Rocked, the Homeschool Revolution, go to the website. Oh, Abby's giving a thumbs up. She has seen really the movie. Oh, thank you. All by God's grace. And it's free. You guys, it's free. So if you've not seen it yet, stream it for free. SchoolhouseRockedMovie.com, or you can find it at our regular website, SchoolhouseRocked.com. where we have everything else there, including some cool merch. We've got some t-shirts and other cool stuff. And part of those, you'll see new t-shirts up there that say Thinking Dad. That is for my husband's new podcast that's coming out soon called The Thinking Dad. And so you'll see some Thinking Dad t-shirts. So maybe for like Father's Day, that might be a fun gift to get for your husband. But we've got lots of stuff in the merch store as well. So you can find all that on our website, schoolhouserocked.com. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye.
Education is discipleship, and this is something I didn't understand until I was probably 3 years into homeschooling. The Bible teaches us in Luke 6:40 that when a student is fully trained, he will be like his teacher. And as we look around the culture right now, I think it begs the question, who is teaching our children? Who is teaching our children, and what are they teaching our children? And to me, the primary benefit of having my children home with me is I am able to impart my worldview to my children.
And that verse that you were talking about with Abraham sacrificing Isaac, right? Like that one so often gets used wrong. Like, sacrifice your children on the altar of ministry. I can't believe people still say that. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you are told over and over and over again, like, to care for your children, to raise them in the ways of the Lord, to, Ephesians talks about your relationship with your children, right? And your children to your parents. And like, that's not a thing. And yet it still is continually brought up. Like, well, somebody else can raise your kids, but you're going to go do ministry.
Right. No. Yeah. No. God gave you your kids for you to be the one to raise them up in fear and admonition of Him, of the Lord. Absolutely. No one else is going to do it like you. I mean, it's missionary or not.
No one knows your children like you, right? No one. God gave you your children.